Look Outreach is underwritten by the generous support of Munter Enterprises. Family owned and operated since 1972, integrity is important, as our family name is on every project. Our word is our bond. Munter Enterprises. Just build it.
So, it's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Welcome back, everyone. Have I got a book for you? He made me say that. It's your fault. Oh, I got just have a wonderful interview here. You might recall recently Tim Widener, the director at the Chapman Museum in Glens Falls, was here, and he happened to bring a book with him called Water and Light. It's some of the work of Stoddard, the photographer and painter and author and whatever, and it's specifically about Lake George. And I started going through the book, and it was so well done that we tracked the author down, who I also happen to know many years ago. This is Joe Cutshall-King. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you so much.
Very nice to have you here.
Nice to be here.
Rarely do you see a book that combines this level of photography, this level of narrative, in this level of focus. It is a seriously good book.
It's a seriously good book. It is a book that is filled with almost 150 images of Stoddard, who is a fantastic photographer, nationally renowned, and somebody who, in his own area, is still not well known enough. So
yes, that's right. Doesn't that happen sometimes?
Yeah.
The SR stands for Seneca Ray Stoddard. Joe was telling me if you were in the inner circle, you called him Ray, and he frequently referred to himself as SR.
SR,
correct?
yes.
Right? But we all know the name Stoddard, or we should. Something very interesting about this: the period that this book covers is pretty much, you were saying, late 1800s, 68, 70 or whatever?
His earliest photograph in the book is 1868,
Yes.
and it goes up to the mid-1880s and takes in really what Tim Widener and I thought were the most important years of his career.
Right. Why the focus on Lake George?
Tim thought that it would just be a great idea to have one area that he photographed in. He took over 10,000 photographs of the Adirondacks, over 1,000 of Lake George alone. So you wanted to take one place and hone in on that.
Right.
So that's what
now
he did.
you really did. It's one of those books, my wife and I are going through it now, and typical of a book like this, you go through all the photographs first, right?
Right.
And then you're intrigued about the composition of one or the period, or you say, oh, I know that place, right? And you go back and you read the narrative. It's beautifully written, Joe. And toward that end, I'm just starting to go through the narrative, but a lot of research involved. How'd you dedicate that much time?
Well, fortunately, I'm retired,
Yes.
so that helps. But just going through what I knew, going back through past things that I'd written, but also new research. The book has the advantage of bringing new things out about Stoddard. A lot of research into New York City papers, other things online, the blessings of the internet, just to let people know that in this 160 pages, they've got a good encapsulation of who he is and what he did.
Yes, right.
So,
Well, and again, thinking about artists and their motivation, Stoddard's photographs have always impressed me because of the composition. And you know what it's like, and I know you relate to this. Some photographers take this shot, some photographers to take this one. What is it about that? Well, he was a painter, and it really does make sense that he would understand blocking and composition.
absolutely.
Because he was a painter.
He started as a painter, painting murals on the interiors of railway cars. Did that in Troy, then he moved to Glens Falls, and in 1864 started photographing in 67, kept painting always, but that became his main artistic venue. Although he wrote, just did beautiful work.
Well, he did guidebooks, right?
Guidebooks.
And a bunch of those.
Dozens of them.
And the illustrations in the guidebooks, I mean, I don't know how multi-talented this person was, but...
Incredibly. The term Renaissance man is so abused, but he really was.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
And his books were known. You could go to Brentano's in New York, pick him up. He was Cook's Tour said, this is the guy.
Yes, that's right. The photographs, so many of us who live in the area are attached spiritually, emotionally to Lake George. And it is really something to look at a photograph that may have been taken at the turn of the century, right? Not this century, the century before. And recognize something about the photograph that you relate to, or just absorb the artistry, the serenity, the moment captured.
The beauty, too, of his photographs is that he was an ardent conservationist, another feather in his cap.
Good point.
And so when you take a look at the photographs of Lake George and you see the mountainsides covered in trees, the trees are there because he was one of the people who helped to preserve them. Yes. So you really have that advantage of looking at a Stoddard photo in this book and then looking at the mountains and saying, oh my God, I was there. I saw that. But they're beautiful, and they're framed beautifully, and the book is beautiful. Tim had a wonderful book designer. This is something that is going to sit on your coffee table, and people are going to thumb until the pages get frayed.
Without a doubt. I totally agree with you. Look, there's only one place to get it, by the way. You're going to have to go to the Chapman Museum. Trust me, you'll be glad you did, because you'll take in an exhibit there and you'll learn something else as well. You probably go online, chapmanmuseum.org.
Exactly.
Oh, got it. Good. Okay.
Yep.
chapmanmuseum.org. This would be the best money you probably spent on a book in a very, very long time. Not only does it really showcase the absolute amazing work of Stoddard, but the narrative that Joe put together in the collaboration. Oh, you're holding up the book.
Why not?
The narrative and the research and the writing matches the photography. So you learn a lot, and it's just really something to spend time with. So you can go to the Chapman Museum in person, which is in Glens Falls. You can go to chapmanmuseum.org. Well, Joe, thank you so much for taking the time
for having
to
me
come
here.
in. And boy, what a worthwhile effort.
I really appreciate the time.
You're quite welcome. To see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.